we now know that the long-chain omega-3 fatty acids have favorable influence on the risk of getting a heart disease. They dampened the tendency of making a blood clot, which of course is a very favorable thing to do because a coronary heart attack is a blood clot in the coronary arteries of your heart. But aside from that, the polyunsaturated omega-3 fatty acids also have many other positive influence on heart risk, amongst which is a lowering of your blood fats, the blood triglycerides. You're more used to talk about cholesterol, and we know that high cholesterol is a coronary heart disease risk factor, but the omega-3 fatty acids will not influence your blood cholesterol to any major extent, but they influence your blood triglycerides, especially when you're in a non-fasting state, and we are in a non-fasting state nearly the 24 hours of the period of a day. But it has been shown in major epidemiological studies that high non-fasting blood triglyceride levels are a high risk factor for getting a coronary. And it is so that if you have a high intake, and in that respect it is a high intake, 2 to 3 grams of EPA plus DHA per day, you will lower your blood triglycerides consistently, dramatically rather. 20 to 25% you can lower your blood triglycerides by that. Aside from that, the EPA DHA will also dampen inflammatory processes, and a coronary heart disease is a blood clot, but it's based on a plaque, which is an inflammatory process going on in your coronaries. And EPA and DHA do give rise to processes that dampens inflammatory reactions and thereby also dampens the clot process in the coronary arteries. So blood lipids, blood clotting, inflammatory process in your arteries all add to lowering the risk of getting a coronary when you increase your intake of EPA and DHA. And there have been many studies focusing in on that. One of the most dramatic was a big Italian study some 10 or more years ago, the GISI study, giving thousands of patients who have had a coronary 1 gram of fish oil supplement per day and compared them to a group of patients who didn't get this supplementation. And this group of patients that got the fish oil supplement had a nearly 50% lowered risk of dying from sudden cardiac death, which is ventricular fibrillation of your heart, a sudden death. And this risk was nearly reduced to 50% compared to the control group. So there are other processes in the heart rate and so on that are influenced by these long-chain omega-3 fatty acids. They also lowers the heart rate. If you compare people with a high intake of EPA and DHA to those with a low intake of EPA and DHA, those with a high intake have a lower heart rate. And that is good because as human beings, we are nearly given a certain number. I know it's not by the one-digit figure, but we are given a certain number of heartbeats per living period. So if you lower your average heart rate, you actually add years to your living time. And there has been some very recent studies showing that those with the highest intake of EPA and DHA compared to those with the lowest have an average life increment of 2 to 3 years. So it fits rather nicely together.